And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back, and that scientific educational segment certainly highlights that we live in a dynamic world, and weather is every bit of that, and climate as well. And we certainly have many challenges ahead, but again, thank you for your support over these years. And looking at the sea ice, well, it has retreated farther north. It continues to gradually melt off as we expect at this point now in the summer season. Open water has become much more prevalent here through the lower Chukchi Sea, and will continue to do so here and through areas of Kotzebue Sound and up along the Arctic coast as we push through the month of July. Looking at the inner channels of the Panhandle for Saturday, the marine weather there is looking for south winds 10 to 15 knots, waves running a couple of feet, maybe 3 feet there in Lynn Canal. Could still be a few lingering scattered light showers or sprinkles. Flow that's coming in off of the Gulf out of the west-southwest, 10 to 15 knots, with waves generally running around 5 feet there. A little more of a mixed bag of winds toward Yakutat. And then by Sunday, the inner channels will see winds with some sort of southerly component to 10 knots with waves a couple of feet. South of Gustavus, look for south-southwest winds 10 to 15 knots, and then outside of Yakutat Bay, easterly winds at 15 knots, waves there maybe 5 feet or so. Saturday off the Kenai, variable winds just 10 knots, generally westerly winds within Prince William Sound to 10 knots, and southeast winds 15 knots there at the entrance of Cook Inlet. By Sunday, the frontal system that's working its way slowly up along the Alaska Peninsula will push in some stronger easterly winds. We could see 35 to 40 knot gales off of the Kenai coastline, and especially there at the entrance of Cook Inlet, with waves as high as 12 feet. Easterly winds within Prince William Sound, 3-foot waves, and northeast winds 15 knots with 3-foot waves there in Upper Cook Inlet. On Saturday, gale force winds will impact along areas of the Alaska Peninsula. We anticipate 35 to 40 knot east to northeast winds, even 30 knot northeast winds within Shelikof Strait. Waves on the North Pacific side, 9 to 10 feet southwest of Kodiak Island. And from Bristol Bay down to north of Cold Bay, waves 4 to as high as 10 feet north of Cold Bay. On Sunday, winds will tend to come down over the Alaska Peninsula, but be upwards of 35 knots there, especially the northern half of Kodiak Island. Shelikof Strait, 11-foot waves. But look for east-southeast winds 15 to 20 knots as you go down the length of the Alaska Peninsula. Waves falling off to 5 to 6 feet, especially south of Perryville, and 4 or 5 feet there as you get north of Cold Bay. Across the eastern Aleutians, winds will be northeast to north on the backside of the low to 30 knots. And fall off and become more mixed here as you get out toward west of Adak. Waves on the North Pacific side, 6 to 7 feet in the eastern Aleutians, 6 to 9 feet across the eastern Aleutians on the Bering side. And then Sunday winds will be out of the west-northwest across the eastern half of the Aleutians, around 20-25 knots. Waves could be as high as 8 feet south of Nikolsky and 10 feet there to the northwest of Nikolsky. As a result of still circulation around that area of low pressure. Across the southwest coast, Norton Sound winds northwest 10 knots, north winds 15 knots off the Yukon Delta. Look for northeast offshore flow 15 to 20 knots out of Kuskokwim and Bristol Bays, 25 knot northeast winds around St. Paul, St. George. And then for Sunday, easterly winds 15 knots out of Norton Sound and the lower Yukon Delta. East winds 20 to 25 knots, Kuskokwim Bay and Bristol Bay, and a north wind 20 knots there at St. Paul. Arctic coast, we expect winds to be out of the west-southwest 10 to 15 knots. More southerly through the lower Chukchi Sea and south of the Bering Strait, right around 15 knots with waves running 3 feet. And for Sunday, winds turn easterly to 20 knots along the Arctic coast, Kaktovik to Utqiagvik. And then look for north to northeast winds 10 to 15 knots passing through the Bering Strait with waves running a few feet there through the Bering Strait and onto the north side of St. Lawrence Island. And again, I want to remind you, you can find us on the new YouTube channel at NWS Alaska, so please go ahead and subscribe so you may be able to continue to receive similar content to what we have been providing over the years. And once again, on behalf of Dave, Percy, and myself, and all of us on the National Weather Service TV team, we thank you for your years of viewership. And we also wish to thank our partners at Alaska Public Media, again, especially Sean and Sherry, who have helped us in the production of this show over the years. Everyone, Have a good evening, and we wish the very best for you.